let me kind of lay some turf out here before our Deputy Administrator gives us some detail. But as you all are aware, the Dimensions Board of Directors has voted to basically close the Laurel Regional Hospital and replace it with an ambulatory care center under the new hospital situation. The mayor and city council taking a pretty strong position against the closing of the facility, and rightfully so. And we have been charged with a task that we will receive, I believe, a resolution that the mayor and city council are considering. And the reason for that is to us advise the mayor and city council on the concerns we have that the facility would close and would have a direct impact on the emergency services here in the city. So with that, let me ask if there's no objection from the commission at this point or any questions, we'll ask Mr. Fleming to kind of give an outline of some of the things we need to discuss.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a general note, this meeting is being televised on the Laurel TV network. Not to be redundant, but the Mayor and City Council, along with residents and businesses of the area, received notification that a decision had been made to limit the services at the Laurel Regional Hospital. To the best of our knowledge, the decision was made in closed-door sessions with no community involvement and without discussions with local elected officials or with the emergency services discipline potentially affected by the decision. As you're probably well aware, and as the chair has just announced, the mayor and the city council have been very actively pursuing this matter. The mayor has directed my office to work with this commission to set up this meeting this evening and to bring in the parties that potentially are affected by this change in the resources available to us. The emphasis behind this meeting is to collect this information, put it in the form of a report for the mayor to peruse, and potentially insert portions or all of the report into the resolution that the mayor and city council are currently reviewing. Ultimately, this resolution will go to a full meeting of the mayor and council to be voted up or voted down. One other thing, as you're probably well aware, there was a public hearing last night. The room was packed, to say the least, and there was a lot of concern that was expressed at the podium. The mayor has indicated that if this commission feels the need to schedule another public hearing, to please go ahead and do so, make the arrangements with my staff, and we will certainly put something together. That's all I have, sir.
So let's kind of outline a little bit about what's going on, and all of you here have a great deal of expertise. The goal is I would request the staff to prepare documentation for this commission to consider as part of a recommendation of the mayor and city council. Our general concerns obviously are while an ambulatory care facility, and I understand it to be a 20-bed facility that someone could be kept for observation or whatever the case. However, in this market area, I don't think, we don't hesitate to know, all of you here have been in the emergency service in this market. We have 4 counties here. We have a lot of turf that gets covered, tremendous amount of mutual aid. And this decision is going to have a major impact to fire, EMS, police department, and added concerns that I do not think were properly reflected in making this decision, i.e. we're probably one of the closest hospitals and one of the major facilities and emergency teams that would address anything that could occur at a national security agency or Fort Meade. And while they're located in Anne Arundel County, it's obviously a mutual aid situation for us. And this being one of the closer facilities along with Howard County General. We've trained emergency situations at this hospital between the joint emergency training that you've done at the hospital. The hospital's geared up with certain equipment that would be used in such a situation. But I'm also equally concerned about how we're going to deal with the issues, for example, of the police department in terms of they going to the hospital with a psych evaluation, a DWI, an accident, a stabbing, a shooting, any of those type of things, which an ambulatory care, in my opinion, is not going to be the most effective way to address it. It may serve in a short-term purpose, but how does that affect police officers off the road, length of time they're off the road? This kind of reminds me when we always had the luxury in this city to have a police commissioner, which I know that you two gentlemen in your former lives here at the city knew that you could go to the police station, get an arrest in front of a commissioner, and get back on the street. Now we're required to drive distances, and all these are politically driven decisions that nobody takes the time or the effort to look at the total outcome of how this affects. But I'd like to see, even if the staff could make some general comments tonight, how they're starting to look at that. But we're kind of on a short stick here in terms of the mayor and city council. Mr. Mayor, I see you're here tonight. If we could just borrow you at the podium for a minute. It's my understanding from the council's perspective that you may be taking some action or considering some action in September. So I would assume that at some point, if we could rush some input, carefully rushed and properly rushed input to the commission so that we can respond to the mayor and city council, our opinion as a commission as to what the city should consider to do, and certainly what its financial impacts are to the city, its manpower impacts. Again, I think few people realize up at this part of the world we have a very strong volunteer fire and rescue system, so this taxes the volunteers a great deal as well. So we have to have some kind of insight as to what this move does to us. So, Mr. Mayor, if you could kind of tell us when and how fast you would like us to respond to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me, if I could, just make a couple comments. First, I think you all have an expertise that, along with working with the staff, that can really help identify areas within the, it's not even really the city of Laurel, the greater Laurel Beltsville area, it's the northern region of Prince George County. This area is going to be, in my view, drastically impacted. And I don't think those that made the decision to close the full-service Laurel Regional Hospital, I don't think they've looked at all of those other pieces of the puzzle that come together to make our communities safe. Last night, as you heard Marty talk, we had roughly over 160 people here, business leaders, members from all over the area, residents, people from the hospital, and I think it was well attended. There was a lot of good information. You know, when I found out about this, and again, it's fair to say I was tipped off a day or so ahead of time, but when I got the official word, I was very disappointed that no one from Prince George's County government, and I'm not sure how many of them even knew about it, quite frankly. We're working closely with Mary Lehman now. She's asking a lot of questions, but our senators didn't know what was happening as well, along with the general public. But I understand what they're attempting to do, the regional medical center. I'm all for that, but not at the cost of closing a full-service Laurel Regional Hospital. So I think my concern is that everybody's worried about making sure that the regional center opens up and they're forgetting about everything else and forgetting about the other pieces of the, as we say, of the pie that really make people and communities safe. The hospital itself, we have not had any discussions with Dimensions. We have been here before with Dimensions. They have a track record, and it's not a very good track record. And I said in my press release, I said last night, and I'll say again, it is time for Dimensions to move along. We need a new management that'll run the hospital. I think and I'm going to leave this with you. This is the Compton Hall report, that the only piece that we've been able to take a look at, and I'll leave you a copy of the press release. But there's a lot of information in it. You know, they're putting out that it's been losing money, you know, every year. Years ago, that system, Laurel Regional Hospital, was the only thing that was saving the system at the time. They continue to look at it as a system and not each individual hospital. I think it's time to take a good look. And I don't know what the scope of the work was when the consultant sat down, but did they take a look at selling or breaking off the system to sell, you know, the hospital? I think there are Holy Cross, the Adventists, other hospitals have looked at and are looking still to move to other areas. Is that something that you know, they should have looked at and asked whether there was you know, other organizations out there that would be interested in purchasing the system? I don't think it was done. I think it was done at haste. I think it was done behind closed doors, and I don't think it was done appropriately. And I think the Laurel, Beltsville community, the northern area of Prince George's County is going to lose on this. And I think I encourage all of you know, them take a good look at what they've done in this area and whether you know, we can fix in my view, again, the problem that I think down the road that we'll be facing. So with that said, you know, the council will be looking. We made a commitment. We are formulating now a lot of the questions that came up last night. We'll prepare a letter. We'll send that to the appropriate individual or individuals on the questions. We'll ask for responses. We talked also with Councilman Smalls, who is still the current chair of the local board, about bringing Dimensions in, possibly having another hearing if they want to come in and invite the public, televise it, and let them respond to the questions and you know, give us hopefully some answers. But I'm not convinced that we're headed in the right direction. And I think from what I heard last night, and all of those doctors and emails and other things that I've gotten since this came out, that we're headed in the right direction. So we'll give you the time you need. I know we're moving quick on some things, but I think you guys as the commission really need to take an in-depth look at how it may affect not only Laurel City Police Department and the fire departments. There's, you know, Beltsville Fire Department, there is Berwyn Heights, there's the county police on this end, state police use that facility. There's going to be a lot of affected organizations that will take manpower off the street, and they'll take volunteers, you know, out of stations a lot longer. So that does concern me and worry me as well. But I'll answer any questions you may have.
Any questions from the commission?
Does anybody know who was behind the closed doors, Marty? What organizations? Was it just Dimension?
Mike, I'm sorry.
Does anybody know who was behind the closed doors? What organizations besides Dimension?
Well, I mean, it's Dimension's corporate board, but I'm sure, you know, the consultant has been working. You know, I have nothing, no inside information or anything. Nobody's told me, but this has had to been in the works for a while, and that's what really bothers me, that nobody bothered to reach out and talk to the community, talk to the other local officials. And I'm not talking about just the city. It's not like really the community should have been engaged in this. I think it's very confusing to some of them right now. I don't think everyone understands, you know, what an ambulatory care center may be. I've heard different pieces. It's going to be ambulatory, then there's going to be an ER, then there's going to be some beds. You know, does all of that stay? My concern is if they can do it to Laurel, they can do it to the other pieces of their, you know, system. You know, they have Bowie Health Center, and they've got a couple other things, Prince George's. A lot of this ties back to the regional medical center. And again, as I said, I'm not opposed to it, but not at the you know, for closing Laurel Hospital.
So you still haven't heard anything from anybody at Dimensions since all this has happened?
No, I mean, somebody told me today that one of the news stations was reporting that they've requested a meeting from my office, but I checked today, nobody's called my office. And again, last night, as I said, we didn't reach out to any particular group. We put out a press release, we put out an announcement that we were gonna have this and left it up to anybody, to come and show up, and that's what we did. So we didn't invite any one organization. We wanted to see what members of the community and business community would show up, and they had the opportunity as well.
Has the board of directors discussed it before, or was it a one-time deal?
It's my understanding that the local board didn't have any discussions until after the corporate board made their decision.
I asked Senator Roosevelt at the homeowner association meeting this past month. So just like I said, they were completely unaware. I'm more representative of Pena. It sounds to me like it's the largest impact or the biggest factor is the dollars and cents. And I mean, even outside of emergency services department, even the fact that all this building is going, the population is going to increase, and it's going to create quite a negative effect on the community. Seems like they should be held accountable. I mean, to talk to somebody about this.
I would agree, and I think again there could be other levels of government that they've been dealing with. I know they've got to deal with, I think it's the State Health Commission and other things. But from the elected standpoint, I haven't found anybody they've been talking to yet. I have not talked to the county executive, talked to our county councilwoman, our Senator Peters, and Rosenpep, and all of those individuals were very surprised of what they heard and what they're continuing to hear. Again, as I said earlier, the chairman was mayor at the time, took on Dimensions when it had problems before. Dimensions has a track record, and it's not a good track record. They have, the doctors that I've spoken to have said they're not getting the equipment they need. The hospital itself needs repair. They haven't put any money into it. Their excuse is that there's only 10% of the community using it. Well, the community usually supports local hospitals when the doctors are practicing there. They haven't reached out to the doctor. A lot of the doctors I've talked to don't want to deal with Dimensions themselves. And again, what we've been told is they want to take down the Laurel Regional Hospital. They want to put up a new ambulatory care center for $24 million. And my attitude is you can build all you want and put all the shiny things up there on the hill, but if you got the same management company, you're going to have the same issues. And I do believe there is a market out there if they were to take Laurel Regional and open it up to nonprofit or profit organizations that are in the healthcare business. And I think there's some specialty things that could be done, and I think you'd see the community support that. Because I think you'd see doctors go back.
Well, definitely. I mean, the location is just like you said, a 4-county coverage. I mean, it's a location for something like that.
We had a gentleman come in last night, I don't remember the name, but he was very involved with Howard County General, talked about the stress that we might see on Howard County General. And, again, there's been other comments and emails that I've received that just are very enlightening, to say the least.
Well, I get the feeling that there's not much hope that we'll talk to Dimensions with any substance. And the reason I say that is in the recent past, back in April, my family spent a great deal of time at Laurel Regional. And as I said here before, the care was outstanding. The people were outstanding. The facility, however, and I made this comment at the time, looked like a store that was going out of business. And when light bulbs would go out, they just left them out. So this has obviously been planned for a long time. And so now my concern is, if we're having to deal with them, could we even trust what they tell us to begin with?
I mean, my door's been, I've learned my door's been open for anybody to come in and talk to me. I take people at their word until they show me otherwise. Look, I make no secrets about it. I think there needs to be a change in management. We're right back where we started. You know, there's not as many volunteers there that are working. I've been there, you know, 3 months ago. I had an injury, went to the ER. Nobody knew who I was. They took very good care of, you know, my injury, and I got good service. That was the ER where University of Maryland is now in. You haven't seen the hospital rebrand the place. I mean, it's still Laurel Regional Hospital. Nobody's doing anything to tell people that, you know, the University of Maryland is in there. There's a whole campus that can be developed up there. I mean, there's a lot of property. And I'm very concerned from an economic development standpoint, from, you know, a public safety standpoint, the things that could occur if this happens. And as I said, you know, you can build what you want, but if you have the same management firm, you know, handled, I don't think you're going to see much of a change at all.
Well, the ripple effect that goes along with it to the medical pavilion buildings and things, doctors aren't going to stay there if there's not a hospital. They're going to move somewhere else. I can't believe a management company or an owner of a hospital like that, when they start losing credentials and doctors start removing their credentials and all, can't pick up and see that there's an issue. It just amazes me how, no wonder they're losing money if they're not any
You know, I
more
had very high
clever.
hopes when they moved a new president in, but I have not seen the things that you know, that we should see that change the system. I hope I'm wrong, and it was said last night, but you know, one of the doctors testified that, you know, he thinks there was this has been their plan. You know, I think Dimensions has a lot of debt they're trying to take care of before it switches over to the university system. I understand they're trying to save the system, but again, my concern is northern end, the city of Laurel.
Well, yeah, it's saving it at whose expense, so that's the thing.
So there's a lot of different components into this, and try to weave through them all has just been very difficult. But again, I think those that were here last night, and they'll be televising again here later tonight at 8 o'clock. I think that if you listen to the community and the business people, there were a lot of good suggestions, comments, and questions. But more importantly, that hospital is there because people long before I was around, whether they were elected officials, business people, community leaders, many of them you all know, some of you all were in that fight as well, to make sure that the northern end of Prince George County had health care and had a hospital. And, you know, I think, as Jim McSeany said last night, you know, his father's probably turning over in his grave right now, seeing some of the things that are happening there. It's a good hospital. It's worth saving. And as I said, it's a fight that we ought to take on. And I think most of the mayor and council, the two senators, the delegates, are all on board. And you know, we'll see where it goes from there.
Any other questions? President Ricks, welcome.
I'll leave these with you at morning to get you copies.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any comments you'd like to make, Mr. President, before we move on?
No, I'm just here to support, I'm here to support the mayor's position and the council's. We think that this is a travesty, and we want to make sure that something happens in a good, positive way.
Okay, going back to the game plan, let me ask you this, Mr. Fleming, how long or what's a reasonable amount of time for the police department, fire department, the rescue squad, for you all to internally get together and kind of, if nothing out, lay out the impacts that you have the greatest? You may not have all the answers, but I'd like to know all the concerns that get raised in this process as to the loss of a full-service hospital versus an ambulatory care center. And again, we're getting kind of into a specific arena which a lot of citizens won't understand. So I want to break it down so that people clearly understand. I mean, I don't think a lot of people understand that if the Laurel Hospital is closed, the ambulances are put on a bypass to go to a next closest hospital. You know, well, we lose a hospital here, so it's very possible the ambulatory care center could be put on bypass fairly easily because it's obviously not the size of a facility of a hospital. So how do those kind of impacts occur? And I would like the commission members all to get a copy of the report, the study the consultant did on the reasons for closing. The scope of this study was that basically the market is not supporting the hospital, and it's kind of, what comes first, the chicken or the egg kind of theory here, but each one of us, I'll take 2 seconds to address, in my situation, back as far as the 90s, having a heart attack and requiring bypass surgery, my doctors were at the medical building next to the hospital. And after I was put in the ER and stabilized, my own doctor sent me to Tacoma Park to the Seventh-day Adventist in order to have my surgery, because they said that the equipment at the hospital they did not trust to actually do the work on my heart. So I got shipped out of my hospital by ambulance down to Tacoma Park to have open heart surgery. And as the mayor said, this has been a continuous story. And most of the doctors that I personally use, living here my whole life, have either gone to the Seventh-day Adventist, or they're now at Howard County General or at Rundle Medical Center. And, a month doesn't go by where, I see the brochures from all these hospitals in the mailboxes of Laurel residences, but I see nothing from our own hospital. So maybe you are down to 10%, but you didn't get there overnight. It's a trend that got you to 10%. Why weren't we looking at this trend line 20 years ago, 15 years ago? And what was it? And when we say the corporate board and dimensions, the truth of the matter is this is really the county government. It's not, Dimensions is a corporation, yes, but this corporation is controlled by basically the Prince George County government. And so quite frankly, as we noted decades ago, the county government should not be in the hospital business. There should have been entities in the hospital business managing our hospital. And no question, it's a little bit beyond reason that before you would throw the hospital out the window, you look at, after decades, the ICC is now a functioning entity. We have Interstate 95. We have the entranceway to the ICC almost in the backyard of the hospital. This is like a critical path of transportation. I think the intersection in 95 and 495 is one of the most busiest intersections in the United States, or something to that effect that I keep hearing from transportation people. But my point being is, I don't know how if you had a quality place run in a quality way, I'm not sure you'd be down to 10% participation. I think you'd probably have a tremendous market in which to provide medical services. So after that editorial, let me go back to the question. Comfortably, how long do you think it would take you to be able to come back to the commission with kind of an outline from the fire department, the rescue squad, our internal departments, Parks and Rec? And again, the fact that we're televising this, our director, Mike Lotsky, the head of Parks and Rec department, what's that have to do with emergency management? It has a lot to do with it, because again, it's a very strong arm of the city. They have major facilities. If we have a major incident here, we house people in those facilities. We feed people in those facilities. We do all types of activities. Our public works department, our IT department is here. But again, this is an impact almost every department in the city. And those risk factors go up when you have something that you've come to acknowledge is there, is a very important part of that process. If it disappears, it makes everybody's life sitting over on that panel to look at things differently now, because how are you going to manage those things? So I'd like to hear from Parks and Rec. I'd like to hear from Public Works. I think the commission would like to get a handle on, we struggle here every year about money, like anybody else does. And so we give out grants to these various agencies that are sitting here. Dividing that grant money up is critical to know what they want. It's going to affect that monetary situation. So how long do you all think before you could come back within reason and give the commission at least the outline of a report that they can work from in order to make a recommendation to the mayor and the city council?
Let me just say this, the staff before you, they're prepared to give some, we have all the pieces of the puzzle as far as what is actually going to occur. But we are prepared to provide preliminary information this evening. But for us to finalize that information, I would expect we could collect all the data by the middle of next week and probably have a report ready by the end of next week.
Yeah, Marty, there's things that we know are going to happen, but it's things that I don't know is what the time of the average stay at Laurel Hospital was that's going to be now Holy Cross or Howard County. What happens if one of those goes on reroute? My God, where are they going to go, you know? It's that kind of stuff that I know happens, but I don't know the details, time, length, stays out. Police department gets an accident, they go to 2 different hospitals. You know, they're going to be spread out in 2 different counties, and that's the kind of stuff we need to know, in my opinion.
I agree.
There's a myriad of situations that can occur that factor into the delay for ambulance service as well as our police officers. You know, whether we can come up with a matrix of what the time estimate would be based on this. I would have to sit down with both the fire department and the police department to see if that's something we can.
I don't think it's as hypothetical. I think it's very real that any of those could happen and happen daily sometimes on a regular basis. You know, so
I mean, I think everybody's prepared to give you worst case scenario.
That's
but you know, based on situations that could affect it, not sure we could really define it that deep at this point in time.
as close as they could get would be appreciated, sir.
Certainly.
If I could, so I don't want to take Marty then by surprise, probably what we should have, we're in this for the long haul. And I think it's fair to say we would like to get those that may know and have all the answers at this dais or this podium to discuss that. What I think we should do for you all is let them work on some preliminary numbers, let them talk to all the staff, let them brief you all on that, give 2 weeks, but I some more things. And I think what we will do as council and the elected officials here last night, make sure that you all are aware of that. I think it's important to get, you know, we're all hearing bits and pieces, and I want to try to give them the opportunity to come in once we get all these questions together and have them answer those questions if they take us up on that.
Well, along with that, if they do come in, the one thing I don't want to hear from them is, well, we didn't get a chance to talk to you, because this is obviously a long time. We didn't even know to invite them because we didn't know it was happening. So if they come in and say, well, we didn't have a chance, that'll be really the wrong approach to take.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to speak for everybody on the commission, but I don't mind coming back here more often than once a month to handle what we
Agreed.
need.
Absolutely.
I don't think there's any question. Let me walk down this path for a minute. We're here today. It's the 11th of August. I think if the committee will accept this, how about in 2 weeks, as your chairman, I will meet with Mr. Flemian, and we'll kind of have a briefing to me as to where they are in the status of this, and then we'll decide if there's a meeting to be had before the end of August. If not, I would recommend that we try to get a report out the week after Labor Day to this commission, and shortly thereafter, or the same week, we would have a meeting to discuss, which would give us a little more than 30 days to go through this process. If that's acceptable to you and on a timeline. And I realize this may lead to yet more study and more information, and I know equally we don't want to drag this out, but that could give a reasonable first start, and then we go from there, because I think you're also gonna end up having to gather information from a lot of other agencies. As the mayor brought up, we have such a strong mutual aid situation up here that, I'm not sure how much the public understands, but, again, we have even mutual aid with the police department leaving the confines of the city to help, adjoining neighbors, and if there are those situations. So if they're involved in an incident there, that takes them out of the market. Likewise, we're doing it to them, when they come within the city's confines. So I think we need to take a pretty strong look on all that and how it occurs. Would that be a good timeline? We're talking about the week of like September the 7th, which is the week after Labor Day. And then it may be the following week, it's the week of September 14th, that we have a follow-up meeting. So I think that gives us clearly 30-plus days.
I think that's a very generous schedule. I think we can accomplish that with little or no difficulties.
Okay?
That would certainly give us a little more time to try and deal with other agencies that aren't in the room that we work with closely to find out what impacts they may have as well. So I think that's a very flexible schedule for us to work in.
Has Dimensions given any kind of timeline when this would happen, or are we just at the point the consultants report?
Nothing that I've seen that lays out exactly what's going to happen year by year, but apparently they're looking to accomplish the whole thing by 2018.
Any other questions? Can I have a motion that will go with that timeline and the commission will proceed down that path?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion to accept that timeline. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. The motion carries. Any further business before this commission?
Mr.
Anybody
Chairman?
in the public? Yes, sir.
I know he's already been up shaking hands, but I would like to formally introduce to you all Mr. Bill Goddard, who is now our new emergency management coordinator. And if I could ask Bill to come to the podium, he can give you some of his background, which is quite impressive, I think you'll feel. So, Bill?
Thank you, Marty. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, it's certainly a pleasure to be with each of you this evening, most of which I've had an opportunity through the years to work with. It's quite an honor to be a part of this family in the city of Laurel. I want to thank the mayor for his confidence in me, the members of the council who I'll have an opportunity to work very closely with, and each one of you as well. I do have a long-standing history in public safety, going back to 1965 when I joined the Glendale Volunteer Fire Department, and I still serve as a life member of that organization. I have had the opportunity through the years to work in Prince George's County, retired as the chief deputy of that department back a number of years ago. Had an opportunity to work in state government, also had an opportunity to work in the private sector, and most recently retired as the fire chief and emergency management director for Howard County. It's quite an honor to be with this group. I really look forward to, for the first time in all of those years, working at a municipal level. I've often said that the closer you get to the community, the greater sense of accomplishment that you can achieve. And I look forward to doing that. I had an opportunity to meet with the chief of police yesterday and had a great discussion with him about how fortunate he feels that working in a municipal jurisdiction can lead to that great satisfaction. But it's been a good ride for my career. This is the beginning of a new career for me, and look forward to being a member of the Laurel family. So thank you for the opportunity to say hello to everyone, and again to the mayor and members of the council. Thank you for your confidence.
Thank you. And you stepped right in the middle of it, didn't you?
Thank you, Bill.
And it's true, and Billy, we all go back many years with Billy in his days in Prince George's County, and he was always a a good friend to this city, and we always enjoyed a great professional and a personal relationship, so it's great to have you here. You did do a great job in Howard County, as you did with Prince George's County, and I think you'll be a great asset to the team, so welcome aboard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions, discussion by the commission? Any member of the staff? Hearing nothing, meeting stands adjourned.
Craig,
Very well done, Mr. Chairman.
See, I got you out right on time, didn't I? Didn't break.